sectors, different size organizations, and really we had Nick Moffat on the call, who was the director of revenue for Easy Hotel, who had worked across airline and a number of different types of hotel groups and holidays. So he was able to give us a really good understanding and background on what options are available to you. Today is about where is revenue management heading? And the idea of this is to try and put a bit of forward thinking. As many of you develop your careers, the idea will be the revenue management, the job of a revenue manager will change. And so part of this is to really start thinking about perhaps where this type of job, where this function is going to develop to, because it will influence the type of role that is available to you in the future. So today, I'm really pleased to be joined by Jose Butragueño, who is the Senior Advisor for Revenue and Commercial Strategy, focusing on the travel and hospitality and leisure sectors, based for Deloitte, based in Madrid. I'll let Jose introduce himself. But he's also worked in some senior level revenue management positions in hotel groups as well. So just before we get started, and the idea today is Jose and I will be discussing the different areas of revenue management and how they're going to look moving forward. But just before we do, Jose, I tend to start off with a poll. I get everyone to do a poll to engage them in the call. So yeah. The first one today is, what two elements of a revenue manager's job do you feel will change the most in the next 10 years? And you need to choose two answers. So which two elements of a revenue manager's job do you feel will change the most in the next 10 years? Less analysis, maybe through technology, working more cross-functionally, more strategy work, will become integrated in the marketing team. New industries will look at dynamic pricing models, less about revenue, more about profit. And there is one at the bottom, if the box isn't big enough, the bottom one is more focus on total revenue management. And the other one I missed was more direct bookings, less OTAs. Okay, numbers are still going up, so give that a few more seconds. Okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so how are we looking with the results there? So more focus on total revenue management is the by quite a way is the leading answer there, and I agree with that. And the pleasing thing is, you'll see that's the first topic we're going to talk about. So I'm pleased that we've managed to choose the correct one to start with. Closely followed actually by more strategy and new industries looking at dynamic pricing. So yep, I agree with that. And then fairly evenly spread actually after that. So interesting. I think that the total revenue management becomes out top. I think that's something that Jose spoke about and I spoke about the other day when we were discussing this, and think it's a big topic and probably one we'll spend a reasonable amount of time on. So excellent. And the last quick second poll is just a yes or no answer. Do you feel COVID-19 will impact the development of revenue management long term? Interesting. Okay, give that 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So actually, the feeling is that this pandemic will influence the development of revenue management long term. Jose, I'm going to be really interested to hear your conversation on this, and perhaps I'll bring you in. I'll let you introduce yourself and then bring you in on this, because my view actually was long term. It perhaps wouldn't. It might change some of the thought processes, but actually in terms of technology development and all those sort of things, I didn't think it perhaps would influence it too much. I mean, do you want to introduce yourself and then perhaps Interesting, your thoughts on that?
In regards to COVID-19,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Do you think it will influence the way revenue management develops as a function?
Well, in my opinion, for sure in the short term it will affect. There are some implications that are quite obvious, no? And probably the price wars is the main worry for revenue managers as a main affection from COVID-19. What I don't know is how the hotel industry will react to COVID-19 in terms of a price war. If we compare this, I mean, a situation like this, which is, I mean, quite exceptional. But if we compare with any other situation in terms of crisis or whatever, in regards to 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, I mean, we have now much more information as a sector, as an industry, to avoid that. Just taking information and sharing information, companies like SDR, any rate shopper, I mean, this kind of information that previously was not shared is now in our hands. So, I mean, now we are in a much better position than before to avoid these price wars and to ensure profitability. Let's see how we perform on this, because what is a reality is that we are better positioned, and consequently we should react much better. This is in the short term what is the main worry. I don't know if it will change or not. I don't have the answer now, but what I know is that we have a much better position. Let's see what happens in 6 months, in 1 year. In the mid-term, long term, I would say that yeah, probably connection between marketing and revenue management should be a learning in terms of customer experience, product differentiation, and how revenue management can connect those concepts. And finally, there is another concept which I think that will affect in the mid and long term, which is technology and digitalization. So everything will be more digitalized in the future, and revenue management cannot be apart from that. So in this is what I see in terms of impacts of COVID in revenue management.
Absolutely, and we'll come on to a number of those topics, as I say. Interesting, I think the 2008 recession that went on for that sort of 4-year period, I think a lot of hotels where they went for occupancy and they dropped their rates, it took them a long time to come up and raise their rates again and increase their ADR. And I think that there was an awful lot learned from that, and I don't think there'll be the same immediate drop of rates. I don't think they'll saying that, it's easy to say, isn't it, until people need people in the hotel. But I would like to think that people aren't going to drive an occupancy battle, and it will be more around, understanding who your customers are and the profitability around getting the right customers in.
Exactly.
But we will see.
Yeah, we will see. We don't have the answer yet.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, would you like to just give, I guess, a quick overview on what your role involves, perhaps why I've asked you to do this with us, and then what I'll do is I'll flick onto the next slide just to sort of show the topics that we'll talk about, and then we'll start going through them.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for your invitation, Roland.
My pleasure.
Pleasure to be with you. Yeah, well, basically, I've been working for 20 years in the travel and leisure sector, mainly in the hotel industry. Last 12 years in management roles in revenue management and revenue strategy functions. Since a couple of years ago, I'm working for Deloitte as a senior advisor in revenue and commercial strategy in different projects for travel, hospitality, and leisure. And yeah, basically, My main area of performance has been Europe, but I've been leading global teams in previous experiences, both in NH and Parques Reunidos, with teams also in America and Middle East. In fact, I could see before Lucio, who was part of my team in NH some years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's great to meet with part of the team here in the webinar.
Yeah. No, that's excellent. Well, look, thank you very much. As I said, we're honoured that you're joining us today. Your knowledge and expertise, it will be great to talk through these points with. And I think part of what I've got to try and make sure we do it so easy to get into deep discussion about all the strategic direction for revenue management and all those things, which I find great. But what I've got to try and make sure I do is not forget the reason we're here, which is the people on the call wanting to try and understand perhaps where their career plans could be. So what I want to try and do here is when we discuss where revenue is heading, is I'll try and make sure we keep it in line with people understanding perhaps where their role, what it could mean for their jobs in the future, really.
Mm-hmm.
So first topic we had, which was pleasing from that poll, is total revenue management, and I think quite a big topic to discuss. And I'll put them all up here. So because what I think we're going to find when we discuss these is a lot of these points are interconnected. One will affect another, and likewise. So second point will be, I think, how revenue management roles will become much more strategic. The influence of AI, automation, and perhaps driving, this will affect perhaps the strategic element of revenue management as there's less analysis work to be done. Technology around RMS, PMS, BI tools, those sorts of things. How revenue managers will integrate and work with sales, marketing, and finance, and really where will that develop over time. The communication needed within the role and how that type of cross-functional and external communication with OTAs and those things, and also what new industries will pop up using dynamic pricing. So fortunately, the top elements that people said in the poll we have got on here. So I guess total revenue management is probably the best place to start. This was something mentioned probably before 10 plus years ago as being one of the things that was really going to develop. How do you feel this has really gone on in the last 10 years?
Well, I mean, this question is I mean, I would say a bit tough because 10 years for a revenue manager, because if we think on the answers that we gave as revenue managers 10 years ago, you remember a study that Cheryl Kimes published, and I think it was in even more. I think it was in 2007, well, more than 10 years ago. And if you think on the answers that we gave, the main opportunities for the future right now are pretty similar, which is not a positive news, and it's not something to be proud of, honestly, because we all defined meeting space optimization, food and beverage revenue optimization, distribution improvement, technology enhancements, and these kind of things. And honestly, today, most of those challenges are still there, and we have many things to improve on this direction. So, in one hand, I would say that, I mean, from a critic point of view, that we have not moved forward as much as we should in the last years. But in the other hand, I think that we have much better technology to capture the potential that we saw already 10 years ago. So it is a critic for all of us, but in the same time, I think it's a reality that we are better positioned to capture the opportunities. So yeah, maybe if you want me to answer, thinking of the future, no, what would be the opportunities?
Yes, yeah. And maybe even, is there a difference when looking at total revenue management, TRM, is there a different challenge within the different elements of revenue? So, you know, the meeting rooms, the F&B, have there been advancements in, or more advancements in certain areas than there have in others? And has it been certain areas that's held that back?
Yeah, I mean, technology. I mean, the technology is for sure the element that has improved the most. If we think of revenue management softwares, for instance, there is more variety. Most of them are more sophisticated. And this is a reality. Advanced analytics platforms are also much better than before. So now it's easier for a revenue manager to spend less time on producing information, building the right KPIs, and it's the time now for revenue managers to dedicate more time on strategic thinking instead of preparing reports as it was before. So technology for sure is the element that has improved the most. But as I usually say, and it's interconnected with some things that we will see later on, technology is not everything. We need to connect strategy with technology and with processes. If we see these three different things in silos, we will be in the same position as we were before. So I think that what we need to really improve is the way we think about the opportunities that we have now in terms of technology to capture the potential in different uh, elements like distribution, forecasting, pricing, inventory management, benchmarking, and food and beverage, meeting space, and so on and so forth. So this is the good thing. Now that the technology is much better, but we need to improve the strategic thinking with the same velocity that the technology has evolved in the last years. This is my perception, my impression.
Yeah, agree. So technology absolutely has been the thing that's advanced the most. Has that, in a way, though, caused the problem in that technology has evolved, and because so much revenue comes from rooms, the technology has allowed more understanding of customer segmentation, customer spend per stay, all these different areas that then allow us to try and maximize the room revenue more. So has part of the problem been technology, in that there's only so much you can do in 10 years, and the technology has allowed us to drive room revenue so much that perhaps we've lost focus on F&B and meetings? Is that possible?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I have a very good friend of mine that 3-4 months ago started a great project to develop revenue management software in F&B for restaurants. There are some modules in meeting space that has been developed in the typical revenue management softwares. So yeah, I mean, probably the users, as you said before, the revenue management users coming from rooms, and I consider myself this kind of people of profile, were not pushing so much the technology to focus on other revenue streams for sure. And we shouldn't. I remember I spoke in Ep.4 Travel 3 years ago, and I said this. It's something that I will repeat now. If we think how much revenue is coming from meeting space and other revenue in general, and we think that as an average in the big hotel chains, it comes to even 40, even 50% of the revenues of a certain hotel, and we compare that with the resources that we applied both in technology and human resources to capture the potential of the demand for these specific areas is completely unbalanced. So probably we could say that we are applying 5% of our resources technologically and from a human resources perspective speaking. If we compare that 5% with the 50%, 40-50% of revenue that is coming from these other elements, I mean, it's like crazy. Consider, I mean, if this comparison is absolutely unbalanced.
Yeah, yeah. So effectively, we're saying to everyone on here, actually, if they can master optimizing the revenue for F&B, for the meeting space, for the spa, parking, those sorts of things over the next 5-10 years, they're probably going to put themselves in a pretty good spot, really.
Absolutely, and I would add something else. I can't speak about it because I had this experience. I shifted for 3 years to a different industry, to the leisure parks industry, 6 years ago. And this is my personal opinion. When I mean, of course, there are certain differences, certain implications that you need to consider, but I mean, revenue management is revenue management. If we think that most of the need variables to apply this are pretty the same: limited capacity, segmentable market, perishable inventory, I mean, the possibility to book in advance. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's not so difficult to apply the basics of revenue management in these areas to capture the potential. So we have the opportunity there, and we need to keep pushing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. And technology is there now, isn't it? You know, it's developed for the rooms, and now actually it's just got to be used in for the other areas. And is there a challenge that the technology isn't integrated enough? So in our finance recruitment, you know, we work with a lot of big corporates, and they have these huge ERP systems where every part of the business is connected on the one system. And is there the slight challenge with revenue management that we don't have in the hotels? One system that just controls everything, that has every element of that business on it, and therefore that integration across the systems causes a few problems. Is that the next step for technology? I suppose skipping to the technology point.
Yeah, probably. The answer is yes. It affected a lot. These silos that we have been defining years ago, it was not only as silos in terms of people, it was silos in terms of technology. This is one thing. Another thing that I would mention here is that, and I would be a bit, let's say, I mean, I'm not sure if disruptive or not, but very direct. In my personal opinion, the property management systems lost a huge opportunity to lead this integration of silos, because I mean the information is there. So in my mind, it's difficult to understand how the property management system, being the cornerstone of the data, has not empowered and even lead this integration. This is my personal opinion, and I think that there is a huge opportunity there. And if we think of revenue management systems, yes, it's true that they could have worked on this direction to integrate these silos, but the reality is that there is something that affects the situation for revenue management systems. Let me explain this idea. When I mean, and I put myself in this group. We, the users of revenue management softwares, usually say that groups forecasts or groups pricing optimization in a revenue management software is not good enough. This is a typical complaint about from revenue managers to the revenue management platforms. But the point is that that segment has particular elements that need to be improved before the technology. And I'm talking about processes. If we don't have the right processes, for instance, in the case of groups, in the group segment, if we don't have the right process to define the different group statuses, and we ensure that every single change in this status is captured into the PMS.
Mm.
If the follow-up for a certain group is properly inputted in the system, if we don't do that, the revenue management software has nothing to
Right.
do.
Yeah.
So we cannot complain about the revenue management software if certain simple things in terms of process are ready before.
Mm.
And I'm talking about processes. And processes is let's qualify the data, let's qualify the team to ensure they know the importance of capturing the data and input this data into the system, because there are certain things that are not in that segment that cannot be taken from by the technology. So this is
Yeah.
a sample in this sense. So,
And actually,
but
that's going to become imperative over the next few months, because the data in the systems at the moment is almost irrelevant to perhaps what's going to happen now in forecasting
yeah,
customers. So therefore, when the new customers arrive, the data that goes into those systems is going to have to be accurate in order for, because it's that data then that needs to be used to build on the new normal forecasts, as it
yeah,
were.
yeah,
So actually that becomes even more important, in the immediate future.
yeah.
Definitely.
But again, I think that property management systems uh, have a lot to do
Mm,
in the future to
mm,
support this idea. It's not only let's say an opportunity for the revenue management platforms, but also for the property management systems.
mm. I think also is with where we go more mobile, the technology probably needs to become more user friendly than it is now on many systems, many different apps, or there's too many clicks. And I think, things like the advancement of how easy it will be to book, through mobile, I think that will become a bigger and bigger influence as well. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, in particular for the group segment, the reality is that the online sales are increasing more and more. In America, is now a reality that big companies are booking almost 50% of their events and groups requests done through the online channels. In Europe, depending on the country, is more spread. And in Germany, for instance, is quite usual that even mid and big groups are booked like that. But in other countries are still very very manual. So yeah, of course, digitalization in this sense will help a lot.
Yeah, and I think on that as well, that's where this perhaps integration with marketing will become closer. As if things become quicker to book and then become more mobile, actually it's going to be targeting your audience,
Yeah,
understanding who the customers are, and that connecting with marketing becomes critical. Ironically, also, I think as probably through COVID now, profitability is going to become a bigger. GoPar probably becomes more important than RevPar. So actually, the integration with finance and understanding break-even points, all those sort of areas, I think moving forward now, that revenue management is going to become a much more cross-functional function, really.
yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I think that in this sense, the revenue management function has improved in the last years from a, let's say, tactical vision to a more strategical function.
Mm,
It's true that there are, I mean, profitability of the proper is not easy to deploy in a daily basis, of course. But I think that not only if we think of rooms revenue, it's key, as you said, to understand first the connection with marketing, to understand the cost of acquisition, per reservation, and there are certain KPI that needs to be integrated in our daily decisions. The net ADR, we cannot talk about ADR, or we need, or even RevPAR. We should talk about net ADR and net RevPAr. Build right cost attribution models per channel, and in those attribution models per channel, including every single cost, not only the direct cost, or the costs at the top of the funnel, but also I'm talking about payroll. I mean, if we have Salesforce dedicated to, I mean, tour operators, for instance, we should impact this payroll in tour operators, and we have digital team. We need to input this into the digital sales, and in a second step, profitability. And as you said, to connect this profitability with the pricing decisions, just to understand which is the most profitable channel, which is the most profitable customer. As you said, segmentation here is key, and based on that, to target our different strategies. So yeah.
And with how competitive this is going to get, you know, the building of and opening of new hotels seems to be increasing exponentially, actually, around the world at the moment. Is the challenge going to be about creating demand, because and really having to win your customers rather than waiting for them to come to you? Is that where we're going? Because that's where I think perhaps strategically working with marketing, you know, I think where revenue management is going to have to go.
I love that concept, Roland. And in this sense, I really believe that revenue management is I wouldn't say that it's a concept from the past, but I prefer to talk about revenue strategy. I consider revenue management something reactive, and I prefer to see revenue strategy as something proactive. By revenue management, I understand that there is a person just understanding what's the demand that the marketing teams or the salespeople are bringing to me, and I manage that. But this is not the way to capture the full potential. The full potential can be captured just changing the vision, thinking on revenue strategy instead of revenue management, being proactive, and using different kind of things to generate, together with the marketing teams and the sales teams, demand. And I'm talking about creating different kind of products, creating different kind of pricing strategies, creating different upselling opportunities, creating different offers to more easily to customize a concrete message and increase conversion. So for sure, these bridges that needs to be improved between marketing, sales, and revenue management is going to be, those bridges are going to be key to generate more profitability by creating demand. I am absolutely a believer of this connection between revenue management and marketing. And if you think about it, the definition of revenue management is pretty similar to the definition of marketing. It's not so far. They are very close. So because you speak about price, you speak about product, you speak about segmentation, you speak about distribution. I mean, you are speaking about marketing.
And as revenue management becomes more about profitability, you're also talking about return on investment as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
You know, that becomes part of it.
Absolutely.
I agree. So, okay, good. So I guess probably move on to, I'm just conscious of time for everybody, because we tend to try not to make this too long for everyone. But I guess the last thing is about the new industries. Perhaps, you know, particularly when people are talking about where the careers might go, we've covered systems, and actually there are more people specializing in internal revenue systems roles now, revenue management systems. We've spoken about their developing relationships with marketing and the roles. So people perhaps need to think about with their relationships with their marketing teams and what they're doing with them. But also what might open up is perhaps new positions in different industries that maybe don't they don't see at the moment as being an
Yeah.
industry to potentially work in. So what's your view on the types of industries that perhaps might open up
I,
to
I,
us?
I love that question, Roland. I have to say that I had the opportunity 6 years ago to shift from the hotel industry, where I had been working all my life, to the leisure parks industry, to lead an amazing project in that industry. So in that moment, I understood the potential of revenue management, not only on the, say, typical industry where have been applied before, airlines, hotels, or car rental. So there are more and more industries that can apply revenue management techniques to capture potential. And I would say that even some of them don't need to have limited capacity as a mandatory condition, let's say. But if you ask me for 3, 4 industries where I see the future of revenue management apart from the typical industries, for sure restaurants is one of them. Technology is about to come. I know some projects in this direction. One important thing is that after the COVID, the digital menus will be almost mandatory, because just to avoid the human touch. And this is perfect to introduce dynamic pricing into the restaurant area. So somehow the COVID uh, could have been good in this sense, just to introduce the possibility to to deploy dynamic pricing and the real-time inventory management and or product management in restaurants. Second big industry that I really love to apply revenue management, I'm trying to do things in this direction, is the leisure industry and the ticketing industry, live sports, entertainment, concerts, museums, leisure parks, theaters. I mean, 25% of the revenues in the live sports industry are coming through. I mean, for live sports, major clubs, 25% of their revenues are coming through match day, the stadiums. Imagine how much we are talking about. And today, and this is absolutely incredible, today 40% of the transactions are made in the secondary market.
Right, right.
This means that secondary market is taking advantage of the inactivity of the primary market, which is the sports clubs, the music promoters, and so on and so forth, to take that money from their hands. So there, I mean, if in the hotel industry the hoteliers are fighting just to reduce by 1% the cost of acquisition, in that industry 40% of the transactions are in hands of the secondary market. So imagine the huge opportunity that there is in that market to apply revenue management techniques. So and finally, everything related to digital. I mean, of course, and here you can open the umbrella as much as you want. Every single e-commerce platform selling whatever can apply revenue management techniques and strategies to optimize potential. But yeah, this would be the three main, let's say, industry where I see the opportunities in revenue management.
I would say as well, actually, the legal industry recently has started really
And
developing.
insurance.
Yeah, and insurance have started really developing that, particularly with insurance. I think it's going to take time for them to understand how to evolve that a bit. It's pricing led, and I think the dynamic element of that is going to take a bit of time. But with legal, where they understand already that each lawyer has a limited amount of time each week, and they can really charge more money, or at peak times, and that's going to be a really interesting sector, I think, to implement dynamic pricing. So I
Yeah.
think the positive news for everyone on here is that from a career planning point of view, there might well be a whole host of new industries that if you can really develop your skills within whatever sector you're in now, hotels, airlines, car leasing, if you can develop your skills, get involved with marketing, understand the customer targeting,
Yeah.
segmentation, really get under the skin of the technology and the knowledge of what you're doing. Actually, there's a whole world of being able to go and set up new projects and go and work in a new industry where they want your knowledge to implement it into what they're doing, and some really interesting opportunities that might develop in that in the future.
For sure. Of course, I mean, there are some other skills that I really conceive as a crucial ones, and the most important one is persuasion and communication skills, in my opinion. Revenue managers needs to be influencers at the top level. Revenue manager needs to be persuasive, and revenue manager needs to have the full picture in their minds, always in the top of mind, to take advantage of the, let's say, DNA that is assumed to have the analytics skills and the strategic skills. So if you combine these three skills, analytical, strategical, and the leadership and persuasion skills, then I mean, revenue management has no limits, not only in the hotel sector or in the airlines sector, but also in the new ones that we mentioned before.
Yeah, excellent. And actually, I have one of these webinars is on running meetings and influencing people in those sort of meeting situations or conversations. Yeah. So we will try and cover that. That's actually towards the end of the process. Okay, we have a couple of questions. So Ahmed has asked, can you elaborate on the stakeholder management? On the stakeholders management and the relationship management between revenue managers and GMs. So can we elaborate on the stakeholder management and the relationship between RM and GMs?
Well, I mean, I think it's, as I said at the beginning of one of the first questions, I said that, I mean, technology has nothing to do by itself. Strategy has nothing to do by itself. There is something in the middle that is really needed to capture the potential again. And this, I'm talking about processes. And processes is a crucial key and a keyword in my opinion, basically to answer that question. The relationships between general management and revenue management need to be based on the right processes to really prioritize the I mean the decisions to be made in which time, how to, I mean, how to prioritize the certain decisions instead of others. So this, I mean, this kind of things, like creating a responsibility, accountability matrix to define the right KPIs, to define the right key decision makers, the right timing of certain committees and tactical meetings. These kind of things are crucial to improve, enhance this vision of revenue management at the top level, at the level of revenue of general management, I would say. So this is key. I mean, process, the combination of strategy, technology, and processes. So processes are key, KPIs are key, committees are key, and defining all this is crucial to capture the potential.
Yeah. The other thing I'd actually, from the experiences we've had in working with the GMs and various stakeholders to the revenue managers they're recruiting, is the feedback's always been, if it's a hotel where the GM expects the revenue manager to make the decisions on the pricing, and you know, there are hotels where the GM will overrule the revenue manager because they just feel they know best, and you're never going to change that. But where the revenue managers have that autonomy to run the function, to be the revenue management function, what they look for is self-belief. They look for evidential argument. So your relationship with the stakeholders and with the GMs tends to be stronger where you are able to back your judgments and your decisions and influence them for them to believe you by being strong in your opinion and being strong in your belief and being able to show the evidence on why you're making the decisions you are. And so my advice on the relationship management between stakeholders or GMs is understand what the decisions are you're making and why you're making them, and be confident in how you then deliver that, because the relationship, once they have that belief in what you're doing, the relationship becomes a lot easier. It's that proving yourself initially, I think, that takes a bit of time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the best results I've seen in my life are I've been in situations where the revenue manager had a key role in the management committee, and of course he or she had the empowerment empowerment enough to take key decisions. I mean, by himself or by herself, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, well, we've got a couple more questions here, which is great. So Lucio has said it took 8 months in Latin America to get over swine flu, gripe porcina. How long do you think it would take to recover from COVID-19? Wow, that's a good question. Should we expect a price war?
Well, I mean, I usually say that a forecast right now is crazy. I mean, we should not create and believe any forecast in terms of the post-COVID impacts and demand performance. What I suggest is to build or to believe different scenarios. So and you can create as many as you want, but I mean, what I would do is to build an optimistic, realistic, and pessimistic scenario, and based on that, to be prepared to apply one or another strategy. So making forecasts right now is very to I mean, to foresee the COVID. I think you can do it just to occupy news in the newspapers, but nothing else. And the most important thing for any hotel is to foresee different scenarios and to have the right strategies defined for every single scenario. This is what I would do, and this would mean being prepared, because I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen. So depending on what happens, be prepared. This is my answer.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Facundo has put, how do you think hotels can capture more direct business? I think this is a good question, because I think it become really important post-COVID. Actually, do you think this new reality with COVID would help to start new strategies? I'm presuming new strategies around winning new direct business.
Yeah, it's a nice question. It depends, and it depends on how creative we are to build real differentiation in terms of products. If we create very, very, I would say, I don't know which adjective would be the perfect one, but I mean, if we are able to create real customized experiences and products with a level of differentiation that I mean, really motivate a customer to and generate that willingness to buy for a customer, then we will be more prepared to capture direct business. If we keep doing the same, which is plug and play, I mean, resorts doing the same almost in everywhere, business travel hotels doing almost the same everywhere, then the OTAs and the distributors will be capturing the demand because we are not adding value. So I mean, direct business weight for a certain hotel is directly related to the ability to create real differentiation, differential products, and real customized experience. If we are not able to do that, we will not be able to increase direct sales.
Yeah, I think with every business in this situation, understand your value proposition, understand what your hotel, what your airline, what your what really you're offering, and do your customers want it, and if it's not been your existing customers, then you need to target the customers that would want that, or you need to change your value proposition to what you've got to make sure is your value proposition is relevant and correct for your target audience, and it adds value to them, and then you get that message to them and they will come to you. That's
absolutely.
I'd say that's the same with every business, any business, any industry actually. So Pamela says, hola Jose, do you see revenue management and sales directors moving to one and only commercial director role? So good question. And what will be the challenges from a revenue management perspective?
Yeah, great to see Pamela also here. She was part of my team also in NH Hotel Group, so it's great to. So hello, Pamela. Yeah, I mean, I think that I I would answer the question starting from the other side, which is, I mean, the commercial director needs different skills right now, not only to know how to make a contract with a tour operator or how to connect with certain travel manager, for instance. So yeah, the point is that the commercial director or the sales and marketing director needs to have marketing skills, commercial skills, and revenue management skills. This is the new director of sales and marketing. What is happening is that many revenue managers or directors of revenue management with commercial skills are taking that positions. It doesn't mean that the new commercial director is the former revenue manager. It means that if you combine the persuasion, the leadership that we mentioned before with the revenue management skills plus marketing and sales vision, then you are prepared to be a commercial director. But in the other hand, if you have a sales director with analytical skills, strategic skills, negotiation, leadership, and persuasion skills, then you can be also a commercial director. So it's not that the revenue manager is the new commercial director, is that the commercial director needs to have basically these skills, and of course needs to understand revenue management at least in the same level than sales and marketing. So this is the new sales and marketing director.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, I'll come back to that point in just 1 second. Ahmed's just obviously following on from the point earlier. He said, I believe the revenue managers need to develop other softer skills and emotional intelligence. And interestingly, emotional intelligence is a really big thing that I don't think gets talked about enough, actually. And in my webinar about communication and running those meetings, and emotional intelligence is going to be something I talk about. So Ahmed, you've pretty much stolen my thunder on one of my webinars, but well done for bringing that up, because I think it's a really key point in understanding who you're talking to, how to deliver to them, how to get them on side, to get them supporting you where you need to, so that they'll back your decisions. I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
So Jose, I just want to say, look, thank you very much. We've overrun by quite a lot, but we haven't lost one person from the call, so I think that they've all enjoyed it, which is great. I would like to say thank you very much for you sharing your expertise with us. It's been a privilege. And actually, coming back to that commercial director situation at the end, next week's topic is looking at the career options and directions available to you as a group, and how do you choose? And we have a gentleman called Rob Patterson with us next week, who is the CEO of Best Western Hotel Group, and he is one of the first people, very much UK hotel business, but he's one of the first people to become CEO of a hotel group, having come very much all the way through the revenue management field. He became revenue manager, worked his way up, became commercial director, and then CEO. So I think we'll have a really interesting comments from him next week on how he did that and his views on the difference between becoming a director of revenue management and becoming a commercial director or CEO. So that will be a good webinar next week as well, with any luck. So thank you very much. I think with all questions done, I really appreciate your input, everybody. Thank you. And Jose, once again, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Roland, and thank you everybody for your attention. So it's been a pleasure for me to share my ideas with, and